Hi everyone, I'm Nick with the Bay Foundation, and today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite places in Los Angeles, the LAX Dunes. So the LAX Dunes lay between the LAX Airport and Dockweiler Beach in Playa del Rey. It is the largest contiguous remnant dune system in Southern California. However, even then, it's only part of what once was. It used to actually be a dune complex that stretched all the way from Santa Monica to Palos Verdes. Throughout most of the 20th century, the LAX Dunes was inhabited by a neighborhood called Surfridge, which was a part of Palisades del Rey. In the early 20th century, it was a very glamorous place and was in fact home to some Hollywood celebrities and a lot of Los Angeles's wealthiest citizens. Here you can see the Surfridge Estates from an aerial view. And in the 1950s and 60s, the demographics changed and it became a far more modest neighborhood. And as time went by and LAX began to expand, residents were having issues with the noise and soot from the airport. Since there was no easy way to alleviate this problem, the city of Los Angeles purchased all the homes through eminent domain, a process that happened from the late 1960s to the early 1980s. So as you can see, this is what part of the LAX Dunes looked like back when it was Surfridge. And this is what it looks like now. It is completely uninhabited and is in fact an essential habitat for a lot of wildlife, as we will discuss later on. So once again, here you have a historic view of the LAX Dunes from the 1940s. And here you have it in the present day. This is the Palisades del Rey map overlaid on a current map of the LAX Dunes. And here's what it looks like today. So today the LAX Dunes is 302 acres, mostly designated as a wildlife preserve. And this is because the LAX Dunes is home to a lot of wildlife species, including the federally endangered El Segundo blue butterfly, which is an extremely rare species of butterfly that relies on a specific species of buckwheat for its entire life cycle. As such, if that plant goes away, so does the butterfly. But there are a lot of other animals that inhabit the LAX Dunes. These include the Blaisdell's horned lizard, the California silvery legless lizard, the California common scorpion, and my personal favorite, the burrowing owl. Now, for decades, Los Angeles World Airports has been endeavoring to support these animals by restoring the ecosystem on which they depend, and a lot of that comes from plants. The native plants provide habitat as well as food for these animals, and so it is extremely important to make sure that those native plant communities are doing well and that non-native and invasive plants aren't pushing them out of their habitat. And so Los Angeles World Airports has been working to restore this habitat by removing infrastructure as well as by controlling invasive and non-native plants. The Bay Foundation is partnering with Los Angeles World Airports to undertake this task. And together, we've created the Friends of the LAX Dunes, an organization that hosts monthly restoration events the first Saturday of every month, where with volunteers, we remove invasive and non-native plants in order to make sure that this habitat can thrive and continue to support all of the animals that we know and love. So here are some photographs from these events. As you can see, our volunteers are having fun removing these invasive plants and undertaking a very important task. And now let's get into some of the plants in question. So first, some of the common native plants that you may encounter at the LAX Dunes. These include the beach evening primrose, the California crouton, deerweed, and one of my personal favorite, ginseng weed, with its beautiful white and purple flowers. as well as silver beach burr. And not to forget sand rubina, which is an essential dune species. Now onto some of the non-native plants that we're trying to combat at the LAX Dunes. We have ice plant, a non-native plant from South Africa that is extremely invasive and will form these dense monocultures, as you can see here. Ripgut brome, which is a plant that you may have encountered if you go hiking in Southern California. It has these seeds that get buried into a lot of clothing and animal fur. Russian thistle, which is what turns into tumbleweed as part of its reproduction cycle, which is so iconic of the American West and yet is actually an invasive plant from Eurasia. And wild radish. There is also the Geraldton carnation weed, which is a plant that has a milky white sap that is highly toxic and irritating to the skin and eyes, as well as fillery, which is a very interesting plant, although it is a very pernicious invasive, as it shoots its seeds up to 12 feet in the air to disperse itself. So, with all of that, we need your help to remove these invasive plants to make room for all of the native plants that support the incredible wildlife of the LAX Dunes. So you can actually come and help restore this beautiful and unique habitat by coming to our Friends of LAX Dunes monthly restoration events or contacting us to have private or special restoration events for your group. And here's our contact information if you would like to reach out to us if any of this interests you. And we would greatly appreciate your help to make sure that we can keep the LAX Dunes such an interesting habitat and home to so many fascinating animals. Thank you very much.